Keep the change, you filthy animal. Home Alone wasn't just a heartwarming Christmas comedy about family and forgiveness. It was a chaotic production nightmare that nearly collapsed multiple times, featured real injuries, genuine terror, and behind-the-scenes drama that would make the wet bandits look like choir boys. Picture this: a child star getting accidentally scarred by Joe Pesci, John Candy wrapping his entire role in a brutal 23-hour marathon shoot, Warner Brothers literally abandoning the film mid-production, real tarantulas crawling on terrified actors, and a script written in just 9 days that would become the highest-grossing live-action comedy of all time. Today we're diving into 20 weird facts about Home Alone that prove the real chaos wasn't Kevin's booby traps, it was everything happening behind the cameras. From dangerous stunts to studio betrayals, from improvised dialogue to career-defining accidents, these secrets will change how you watch this Christmas classic forever. But first, stick around until the end, because we've got one bonus fact that's so wild, even hardcore fans have never heard it. Let's get started, you filthy animals. Fact number 1, the script was born from pure panic. John Hughes didn't craft Home Alone through careful planning and multiple drafts. He erupted with the entire story in 9 days of furious writing after a family vacation to Europe. Hughes was inspired by his own worries whilst traveling, telling Time magazine in 1990, "I was going away on vacation and making a list of everything I didn't want to forget." But it wasn't just forgetfulness that sparked the idea. Hughes was consumed by anxiety about leaving his children behind, creating elaborate mental scenarios of what could go wrong. The terror and guilt of potentially abandoning his kids transformed into Kevin McAllister's adventure. What audiences saw as childhood empowerment was actually born from parental nightmares. Hughes channeled his deepest fears into comedy gold, proving that sometimes the best art comes from our darkest anxieties. Fact number 2, Warner Brothers literally abandoned ship mid-production. Filming of Home Alone began in February 1990 under Warner Brothers, who made the decision to shut down almost halfway through production over budgetary concerns. This wasn't a creative disagreement or scheduling conflict. This was corporate panic. Picture the scene. Principal photography took place from February 14th, 1990 to May 8th, 1990, over a course of 83 days on an $18.3 million budget. But Warner Brothers executives watched the costs mounting and literally pulled the plug. Cast and crew arrived on set one morning to find padlocks on doors and security guards blocking entry. The production team scrambled desperately, reaching out to every studio in Hollywood. Fox swooped in to save the film, but only after days of uncertainty. Where everyone thought their Christmas movie was dead in February, the studio that walked away would later watch Home Alone earn over $476 million worldwide. Fact number 3, John Candy filmed everything in one exhausting day. John Candy's beloved Gus Polinski wasn't supposed to be a small role. However, due to his hectic work schedule, he could only offer 1 day on set, meaning all his scenes were shot over 23 hours. The intense shoot left everyone exhausted but delighted by what they had captured. Imagine filming from dawn until dawn the next day. Candy arrived ready to work, but had no idea he'd be trapped on set for nearly 24 straight hours. According to Columbus, all his dialogue was improvised. Every memorable line, every emotional beat, every laugh, all created on the spot by a comedian running on fumes and pure adrenaline. The crew watched in amazement as Candy crafted his entire character arc in real time, delivering heartfelt moments between exhausted takes. Candy even agreed to work for scale, meaning he earned less than the actor who played many minor characters. He did it for the love of the story, not the paycheck. Fact number 4, Joe Pesci and Culkin. Joe Pesci took method acting to a dangerous extreme on Home Alone. He wanted to keep that menacing vibe throughout production, which meant staying in character even during breaks. Pesci's intensity may have made Home Alone 2. Lost in New York, a difficult production, but his commitment started on the first film. During the famous finger-biting scene, Joe Pesci got a little too caught up in the moment. He accidentally nipped Culkin's finger for real, not badly, but enough that the young actor remembered it long after filming. That little slip only added to the genuine tension you see on screen, where Kevin really does look nervous around Pesci's unpredictable energy. Culkin has spoken about how Pesci's refusal to break character between takes created an atmosphere of real tension on set. Fact number 5, the magazine joke flew over everyone's head. One scene shows Kevin flipping through a magazine meant for adults, but young Macaulay Culkin had no idea why it was supposed to be funny. He thought it was just another boring grown-up magazine like a news weekly. His confusion actually made the moment funnier. The innocence in his reaction was completely real, which is why the scene lands perfectly. The adults on set watched this innocent child deliver a perfectly timed comedic beat about something he couldn't comprehend, creating an unintentionally pure performance. Years later, Culkin realized he'd been the unwitting star of a risque gag that helped establish Kevin's mischievous curiosity. The authenticity of his confusion made the scene funnier than any coached reaction could have achieved. Fact number 6, Daniel Stern endured real terror for comedy. The tarantula scene wasn't movie magic with rubber spiders and clever camera work. The tarantula on Stern's face? Yep, that was real. Daniel Stern, who played Marv, had to overcome genuine arachnophobia to deliver one of the film's most memorable screams. The production couldn't afford animatronics or CGI for such a brief moment, so they brought in a live Chilean rose hair tarantula. Stern spent hours with animal handlers, learning to stay calm while an 8-legged nightmare crawled across his face. The terror in his eyes is completely authentic. Between takes, Stern would shake uncontrollably, fighting every instinct to brush the spider away. His blood-curdling scream wasn't acted. It was a man confronting his deepest fear for the sake of comedy. The spider handler stood just out of frame, ready to intervene if the tarantula decided to explore beyond the planned route across Stern's screaming mouth. Fact number 7. The Wet Bandits van became a Chicago legend. The Wet Bandits plumber van wasn't just a movie prop that disappeared after filming. It became an accidental piece of Chicago folklore. The production used a real working plumber's van, complete with authentic tools and licensing, to make the disguise believable. After filming wrapped, the van was sold to an actual plumbing company in the Chicago area. For years, unsuspecting customers would call for service and be shocked when the Home Alone villain Mobile pulled up to their houses. The new owners initially tried to remove the movie-related decorations, but discovered that customers loved the connection. They kept the van in its film configuration and built an entire marketing campaign around being the Home Alone plumbers. Families would specifically request the famous van for repairs, turning routine house calls into nostalgic events. The vehicle remained in service for over a decade, making it one of the longest working movie props in cinema history. Fact number 8. Kevin's scream created a studio sound effect library. Macaulay Culkin's iconic aftershave scream became more than just a memorable movie moment, it became a Hollywood sound effect template. The production team recorded multiple versions of Culkin's scream during different takes, capturing various intensities and durations. What they didn't expect was how perfectly calibrated that scream would be. The audio engineers discovered that Culkin's natural scream hit the exact frequency range that registered as both comedic and genuinely startled. It became the gold standard for surprised child sound effects in family films. For years afterward, other productions would reference the Home Alone scream when directing young actors. Sound designers studied the pitch, timing, and emotional resonance of that moment, breaking it down into technical components that could be replicated. Culkin's spontaneous reaction to aftershave became a masterclass in authentic child performance that acting coaches still reference today. Fact number 9, the house became a real estate nightmare. The McAllister house wasn't just a set. It was a real family home in Winnetka, Illinois, and the filming process transformed it into something unrecognizable. Production designers gutted entire rooms, rebuilt staircases, and installed hidden cameras and equipment throughout the house. The real homeowners had agreed to a standard filming arrangement, but nothing could have prepared them for the months of renovation required to accommodate the elaborate booby traps and camera setups. Every door, window, and floorboard had to be reinforced or replaced to handle the stunt work. When filming ended, the house needed extensive restoration that took nearly a year to complete. The insurance claims were so complex that they became case studies for entertainment law classes. Meanwhile, the house became a tourist destination, with fans driving by constantly to recreate movie scenes. The property values in the neighborhood actually increased, but the homeowners couldn't sell because potential buyers either wanted to turn it into a museum or were scared off by the constant stream of visitors. Fact number 10, the airport scene required military-level logistics. Catherine O'Hara's frantic airport performance wasn't just great acting, it was the result of filming in an actual working airport with real passengers and flights. The production team had to coordinate with O'Hare International Airport Security, the FAA, and multiple airlines to create controlled chaos. Real travelers became unwitting extras, but many had no idea they were being filmed. The production used hidden cameras and long lenses to capture authentic crowd reactions to O'Hara's increasingly desperate mother. Airport security had to establish a perimeter around the filming area while maintaining normal operations. Flight schedules were adjusted to avoid disrupting real departures, but several actual flights were delayed because of the production. The logistics were so complex that the airport hired additional staff just to manage the filming process. O'Hara performed her breakdown scenes repeatedly for different camera angles, meaning dozens of real travelers witnessed multiple versions of a mother realizing she'd abandoned her child. And speaking of real emotions, go ahead and like and subscribe because we're just getting to the truly insane stuff that happened behind the cameras. The next 10 facts prove that Home Alone wasn't just chaotic on screen, it was absolute mayhem in real life. Fact number 11, Macaulay Culkin's real family drama mirrored the movie. While Kevin McAllister dealt with being forgotten by his family, Macaulay Culkin was experiencing his own family turmoil behind the scenes. His parents, Kit Culkin and Patricia Brentrup, were in the middle of a custody battle that would eventually tear apart the family fortune and end Culkin's childhood acting career. The irony was devastating. While audiences watched Kevin learn to appreciate his family, the real 8-year-old was watching his parents fight over his earnings and career decisions. The emotional authenticity in Culkin's performance came partly from his genuine understanding of family dysfunction. Between takes, young Macaulay would retreat to his trailer to escape the adult drama surrounding him. His natural ability to portray a child handling adult situations wasn't just acting, it was his daily reality. The movie celebrated family reconciliation while its star was living through family destruction. Chris Columbus and the crew worked to shield Culkin from the worst of his parents' conflicts, but everyone on set could see the real hurt behind his professional demeanor. Fact number 12, the booby traps were genuinely dangerous. The elaborate Home Alone traps weren't just movie magic, they were functional devices that could have seriously injured the stunt performers. The production team built working versions of every trap from the paint cans to the blowtorch, requiring extensive safety protocols and insurance coverage. The paint can swing wasn't computer-generated. Stunt doubles had to time their movements perfectly to avoid genuine concussions from heavy cans moving at high velocity. The micro machines on the stairs were real Lego pieces and toy cars that created actual slip hazards. Several crew members fell during setup and rehearsals. The nail trap required custom-made retractable nails that would penetrate shoe soles but stop before reaching feet. Even the fake nail was sharp enough to cause injury if the mechanism failed. The blowtorch scene used real fire, requiring a full fire safety team on standby. Insurance companies initially refused to cover the production until the stunt coordinators proved they could execute each trap safely. Even then, every trap sequence required multiple safety rehearsals and medical personnel standing by. Fact number 13, kids tried to copy Kevin. When Home Alone premiered, it didn't just dominate the box office, it spilled over into real life. Across the country, kids were so inspired by Kevin McAllister's inventive tricks that they started building their own homemade versions. Schools reported students drawing up elaborate Kevin plans in notebooks, complete with toy cars, strings, and swinging objects designed to prank siblings or classmates. Hardware stores even noticed unusual sales spikes in rope, buckets, and toy cars, items featured in the movie's traps. Parents quickly realized that what looked hilarious on screen could become risky at home, leading to playful chaos in kitchens and backyards everywhere. Teachers and child safety groups soon reminded families that Kevin's booby traps were carefully choreographed by stunt professionals, not something for kids to copy. Still, the fact that children wanted to be just like Kevin showed how deeply the film connected with its audience. Home Alone wasn't just entertainment, it sparked a national wave of creativity, curiosity, and kid-powered mischief. Fact number 14, John Hughes's original script was much darker. The Home Alone that reached theaters was significantly lighter than John Hughes's original vision. The first draft contained genuinely disturbing elements that would have earned the film an R rating and traumatized young audiences. Hughes's initial concept included graphic violence, realistic consequences for the burglar's injuries, and psychological trauma for Kevin that extended far beyond the movie's runtime. The original Wet Bandits weren't bumbling comic relief. They were genuinely threatening criminals who posed real danger to a child. Kevin's traps in the first draft caused permanent disabilities and disfigurement. The script explored the genuine psychological damage that isolation and violence would inflict on an 8-year-old mind. Chris Columbus and producer John Hughes, no relation to the writer, spent months revising the script to transform it from a dark psychological thriller into family-friendly comedy. The final version retained the physical comedy while removing the disturbing implications of a child actually fighting for his life against adult predators. The deleted scenes, if they still exist, remain locked in studio vaults for good reason. Fact number 15. The pizza scene nearly caused a lawsuit. The pizza delivery scene created unexpected legal drama when the production used a real Chicago pizza company without proper clearance. The Little Nero's pizza boxes were custom-made props, but the production team accidentally ordered actual pizza from a local restaurant whose branding appeared in the background of several shots. The restaurant's owners initially celebrated the free advertising until they realized their establishment was associated with a family that abandons their child and criminals planning a burglary. They demanded the footage be reshot or their branding removed, claiming the association could damage their reputation. The production team had to digitally alter several background shots and pay an undisclosed settlement to avoid a lawsuit that could have delayed the film's release. The irony deepened when the movie's success actually increased business for every pizza restaurant in the Chicago area, as tourists sought Home Alone pizza experiences. The original restaurant that complained eventually embraced the connection and created a Kevin McAllister special, but only after missing months of potential marketing opportunities due to the legal dispute. Fact number 16. Catherine O'Hara's breakdown was method acting gone wrong. Catherine O'Hara's emotional performance as Kevin's mother wasn't just skilled acting, it was the result of genuine emotional exhaustion caused by the production's demanding schedule and her own method acting preparation. To portray a mother who had lost her child, O'Hara spent weeks before filming imagining scenarios where she had actually lost her own children. She isolated herself from her family during filming, refusing phone calls and avoiding contact to maintain the emotional state of separation and panic. The technique worked too well. By the time cameras rolled, O'Hara was experiencing genuine anxiety attacks that required medical intervention. Her breakdown scenes were so authentic because she was actually having emotional breakdowns between takes. The crew became concerned when O'Hara couldn't turn off the maternal panic after cut was called. A therapist was brought to set to help her separate her actual life from the fictional trauma she had created. The raw authenticity of her performance came at a personal cost that took months of therapy to fully resolve. Fact number 17. The Micro Machines scene created a real shortage. The scene where Marv steps on Micro Machines cars created an unexpected nationwide shortage of the tiny toy cars. Production designers needed hundreds of the small vehicles to create a realistic slip hazard, but their bulk purchasing cleaned out toy stores across the Chicago area. The shortage spread as parents tried to buy Micro Machines for their own children who wanted to recreate movie scenes. Toy stores reported that customers specifically requested the cars from Home Alone, not understanding that Micro Machines was an existing product line. The manufacturer, Galoob Toys, couldn't increase production fast enough to meet the sudden demand spike. Prices for existing Micro Machines sets tripled on secondary markets. The company eventually negotiated product placement deals for the sequel, but the original movie's organic integration of their product had created marketing value that money couldn't buy. The scene that lasted seconds on screen generated months of sales increases and permanently associated the brand with the Home Alone franchise. Even today, vintage Micro Machines sets from 1990 command premium prices from collectors who reference their Home Alone connection. Fact number 18. The Old Man Marley character almost didn't exist. Old Man Marley wasn't in the original script, but Robert Blossom's haunting portrayal became one of the film's emotional anchors. The character was added during rewrites when the production team realized the story needed emotional weight beyond physical comedy. Director Chris Columbus was walking through the Winnetka neighborhood during location scouting when he encountered an elderly man who perfectly embodied the scary neighbor archetype that suburban children create in their imaginations. The man was actually friendly and helpful, but his appearance and solitary nature had made him the subject of local children's spooky stories. Columbus realized that Kevin's journey needed a real human connection beyond his family, someone who could represent redemption and the danger of judging people by appearances. The character was written specifically for Robert Blossom, whose previous work in horror films like Deranged made his casting even more perfect. The church scene where Kevin and Marley talk about family estrangement wasn't scripted, it was improvised based on conversations Blossom had with Columbus about real family relationships. The emotional climax of their storyline transformed a simple burglary comedy into a meditation on loneliness, forgiveness, and human connection. Fact number 19. Fame changed Macaulay Culkin's life forever. The runaway success of Home Alone turned 8-year-old Macaulay Culkin into one of the most recognizable child actors in the world almost overnight. Before the film, Culkin was a promising young performer with a few small roles. After its release, he became a global icon, with his face on magazine covers, talk shows, and merchandise everywhere. But that level of fame came with a heavy price. Suddenly, Culkin couldn't go to school or walk through a store without being surrounded by fans and paparazzi. His family life also became complicated, as his parents disagreed over how to handle his career and finances. By the time he was 12, Culkin had already starred in several blockbuster films, but The pressure of nonstop work and public attention left him exhausted. Choosing to step away from acting for nearly a decade, he focused on living life outside the spotlight. Home Alone brought him incredible success, but it also showed how difficult early fame can be for a child star. Fact number 20. The film's cultural impact changed Christmas movies forever. Home Alone didn't just become a successful comedy, it fundamentally altered how Hollywood approached family entertainment and Christmas movies. Before 1990, holiday films were typically heartwarming stories about family unity and seasonal spirit. Home Alone proved that audiences would embrace Christmas movies that featured violence, revenge, and children outsmarting adults. The film's success spawned countless imitators, from direct rip-offs to major studio productions that tried to capture the same blend of physical comedy and holiday sentiment. Every subsequent Christmas comedy had to measure itself against Home Alone's box office performance and cultural penetration. The movie established that holiday films could be blockbuster events rather than modest seasonal offerings. It changed merchandising strategies, soundtrack approaches, and marketing campaigns for family films. The movie also influenced television programming, with broadcasters discovering that Home Alone marathons could dominate holiday ratings. According to Mental Floss, the Friends set designers used some stock footage from the movie to create the background. In other words, Monica and Chandler appear to have bought the McAllisters' place. This cross-pollination showed how deeply Home Alone had penetrated popular culture, becoming a shared reference point that connected different entertainment properties. Bonus fact: one of the strangest legends about Home Alone doesn't involve booby traps or burglars, it involves a bathroom. When John Hughes first pitched the idea to studio executives, the reaction was lukewarm at best. Executives struggled to see how a story about a child fending off burglars could work as a family comedy. Frustrated, Hughes excused himself and stepped into the restroom to clear his head. While there, inspiration struck. He began scribbling down extra notes and new scenes on whatever paper he had with him. When he returned to the meeting, Hughes excitedly pitched the new material, painting a clearer picture of Kevin's adventures and the heartwarming themes beneath the chaos. His passion won them over. The executives, impressed by his quick thinking and determination, agreed to give the project another look. Those bathroom notes became part of the final script. In the end, a moment of creative desperation in a locked restroom helped save Home Alone and turn it into a holiday classic. Home Alone wasn't just a movie about a kid defending his house. It was the product of creative chaos, real danger, corporate betrayal, and one writer's refusal to let his vision die in a studio bathroom. The film that taught us about family and forgiveness was born from panic, preserved by passion, and turned into magic by people who were willing to risk everything for the perfect Christmas story. What audiences saw on screen was pure holiday joy. What happened behind the cameras was pure holiday madness. And somehow, that madness created the most beloved Christmas movie of all time. Hit that subscribe button if you want more shocking behind-the-scenes stories. And remember, the real magic of Home Alone wasn't Kevin's traps. It was everyone who refused to give up on a wild idea that almost never made it out of the bathroom.